Howdy. I think you are both muted.
Yep. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
Go back to bed.
Yeah, I'll try to.
This has really hung on for quite a while.
I know, more than a week.
Yeah.
I first got sick a week ago Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's sort of typical for me.
Is that right?
Yeah, when I get a virus, it's like 2 weeks.
Mm.
My daughter.
Howard.
Hi, Howard.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Where are you?
I'm in Edisto Beach, South Carolina. Edisto
Oh,
Island.
you moved.
Just put my earbuds in.
Well, on my way back north.
Okay.
Florida, this is 1/3 of the trip.
Yeah.
Nice. You having good weather?
Yeah, it's been great.
We're having cold, windy, and coming up rain.
Yeah, but it's 40s and 50s, not 20s.
Yes, that's
I
true.
left
No,
in
but I'm in California. I expect
Oh.
it to be a little warmer.
Mhm.
My daughter is out here for a conference in San Diego. She's just flew in.
Oh,
And,
San Diego, I bet you it's hot there.
No, it's not. It is the
Oh.
same weather from north to south in Southern California. It's windy. They're going to have snow in the mountains. It's going to rain for a few days. She said they're also disappointed. They were expecting to come to California for a little sunshine and warmth, but
The weather's changed. I have a friend that's been living in Sonoma for, I don't know, 10 years, I guess.
mm-hmm.
He's finally decided he's moving to where? Park City, Utah.
Uh-huh.
California. He said it's been really tough with the
Yeah.
forest fires and the drought.
Yeah. There's a big exodus from California. A friend of mine sent
Who knew?
an article from the Times the other day. I haven't read yet, but yeah, people are leaving.
You guys missed a great presentation.
Oh, the Granicus.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, it's exactly what we need to take care of the STR, well, at least not take care of it, but to monitor and enforce the STR situation in, well, anywhere, especially in
Yeah.
Woodstock. I'll just give you one bit of data. They checked just the other day. They get their data points every 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
There were the number of properties in Woodstock that came up was, you're not going to believe it. By the way, we have 277 permits
Right.
that are issued. The number of properties that they tracked was 606.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, some properties advertise on multiple sites,
Right.
so they track that too. So
Mm-hmm.
the total number of properties that are renting out for STR is 382. So you subtract 277 and you
Yeah.
got about 100 and almost 110 properties that don't have permits.
Right. Right.
And out of the ones that do have permits, we don't know, but they said that there's a lot of properties that don't pay their taxes on it.
That don't pay the income from the
Yeah.
short-term rentals.
The taxes on the income.
Yeah.
And the
Mm-hmm.
last thing was that, what was it?
Hi, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
I was
You're
just
muted, Deborah.
getting him on a few data points from our meeting.
Yeah, Howard's just bringing us up to date on the Granicus stuff that we missed a bit.
It was amazing. Well, you'll get to see the recording.
Yes,
And
which
I
I
don't know
will.
about you, Howard. I took a lot of notes. If I can
I
read
did
them.
too. I'll say the one last thing, the one other data point that was kind of startling is that our permit fees are extraordinarily low.
Right.
The typical permit is 2 times what the average nightly rate is. And
Mm-hmm.
nightly rates right now out of season is $273 a night.
Mm-hmm.
Said that our permit fees should be $500 or higher.
Right.
Higher.
Right. Yeah.
And the permit fees at 500 would probably, half of it would pay for the Granicus subscription,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
about, before
That's
we get
interesting.
discount, it's under 30,000 a year.
Right. Mhm.
Yes,
Well,
that
at
was
least,
very good news.
go
I mean,
ahead,
I think
Deborah.
no, I think it was extremely informative. It gave me a lot of confidence that there are tools out there that we can use that are better than what we can do. I didn't get to send you, Judy resent me maps last night because she had left off some legends. But I gotta say, dealing with profession, I mean, she's wonderful. but
Oh, yeah.
She's also a volunteer. And,
Yeah.
you know, and she's taking the data that she was given, the information she was given. So, you know, the idea of having a system that
Yeah.
can actually help us on an ongoing basis. I think we, you know, my hope is that we can make a case as a housing committee and, you know,
Yeah.
see if we can convince. Anyway, I think we're going to
Right.
get started, so.
Yes, we should get, hi, Laura. Hi, Urena. Laura, you're muted. So,
What's
so
that background noise?
background
That's
noise.
Dickie.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
Yes, he's crunching up something. Welcome, everybody. Nice to have a full committee. How lovely. And we'll have Catherine as long as she stays, but she may disappear.
What?
I'm very sick.
She is very sick and has been all week. So somehow miraculously, I got better, felt better this morning. I skipped the first 2 meetings of the day, but I'm here for this one. So let's get started.
Thanks for coming, you guys. So dedicated.
Yeah, I had the town board meeting last night gave me such a headache. I had to leave before it was over, I have to say. So we don't seem to have any public be heard as usual. And so we'll just begin with, I gotta pull up, the minutes. I just sent around the revised, Deborah had made a bunch of revisions
Yeah.
to the
I gotta
minutes.
get those in earlier so that everybody has a chance to
Yeah, so that was,
So they didn't come to me until Friday and I don't remember. I know I was flat out, Urena. So I did
I
it
know.
as best I could, as fast as I could.
I know, but I'm not trying to nail you, but
Yes,
just
you are.
but I put them out. I purposely I do them right after or within a day or two, and then I put them out. So we had over a month or like a little under over a month to do it. Just saying.
Well, I can look and see, you know, there's no point
It's-
arguing
yeah,
about it. They're
yeah.
here, they're accurate, they need
Now
to
they're,
be
yeah.
corrected, and
Correct. Yeah.
I did the work.
So we have them, and I don't know if people feel comfortable accepting them.
I didn't have a chance to read the updated version, but I mean, I would be okay to.
They were really just clarifications about the detail of the process with the Housing Smart Communities Initiative, which Deborah really has the details. So
Okay. So
I
why don't
think-
we just wait till next week? I recommend
next month.
next month, and then.
All right,
And
you
the
wanna-
other thing I changed, Susan, the other thing I changed was the clarifying the Housing Oversight Task Force report that Kirk and I gave.
Mhm.
That needed to be, and Urena had asked that I look at those two things. So
Right.
I focused on, that's really all I focused on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So we will, there's a motion to carry these minutes over to next month. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
I
Bye.
Okay. That we will look at these next month, or look at them in between, and we will just vote on them and hopefully next month.
Who seconded that, please?
Howard,
Howard.
And who moved it? I had the other way.
Urena.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so an update on the Housing Smart Communities Initiative. Deborah and Catherine spoke with Kai, I believe, and you want to bring us up to date on that one?
Yeah.
Is there an agenda that was submitted?
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
there is. I can share it. I can't do too many things on my screen at once, so I can share my screen, and then we've got agenda. I'm not sure how to get this so that it's
Big enough.
big enough to do this, and I can still see everybody on my screen to know who wants to talk about anything. Let's try this.
You want me to share it on mine and then you can, if you allow me to share, okay, that's fine, I guess.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so the first order of in current business is the Housing Smart Communities Initiative. Deborah, you want to? Oh,
Yeah.
and wait, Deborah's taking minutes today because Catherine is not able to do that. So
So I'll fill in for Catherine, and Catherine, you jump in if I missed anything. It's really short. I don't think it's 10 minutes.
Okay.
Basically, we met with Kai to talk about how to prepare, how to engage in the process to have consultants, have the county designate or work with us to designate consultants to help us with the Housing Smart Communities actions. And the two that we focused on, we talked with him initially about the housing plan. He recommended, since there's limited dollars at the for everybody in the county that's doing this, he recommended we couple the housing action plan with the community outreach and engagement campaign, that we, in other words, put both of those things in the RFP for consultants so we can get more help, basically. And there's a form which has been kind of glitchy, but he fixed it today, that I'm going to fill out. A little bit of input from Catherine. Kai is taking our newsletter and the report that we produce to the town board, and he is actually drafting the RFP because it's the county that is contracting with the consultants on our behalf. However, he's drafting it. He's then circling back to us. He will give us, we will have the opportunity to comment, refine it. It will go out to their bench of consultants, which right now is pretty small. It's 3 teams or multiple entities that are working together as teams, but I think there are some good options. And then hopefully the county will get proposals from all of them, and then we get to discuss with them the ones that seem most appropriate for us. And then a decision will be made with our input. So that's my understanding. The only other thing that's part of this process that we learned about, and again, Catherine, if I missed something or if I need to correct something, please let me know, is that it would be beneficial if the town were to contribute something. Doesn't have to be a lot, but if the town were to contribute something to this, to the consultant service. And I talked with him further today, is it dollars? How many dollars? He said it can be a token. I said, could it be something else other than money? If the town is not willing to commit any dollars. And I honestly don't remember what the outcome was with the budget for us at the end of last year. But he said work with us to figure that out, to make it work. We literally had a very brief conversation today. That's where we are, and we should be hearing from him, I'm thinking, in the next couple of weeks. So by the time we meet again, we'll have something that we will have had a chance to look at and comment on.
Can I ask who is Kai? I heard the name, but I don't know who he is.
He's a planner. He is
Be here.
county planner who is the point person for all things housing at the county planning department. And he is working with the Housing Smart Communities. He's the county's coordinator. And he's also a certified planner, AICP planner. He's actually spent some of his formative years growing up in Woodstock and then worked in California. He's very nice and very knowledgeable, and he has met with this committee and spoken with several of its members at different times.
And what's his full name?
His name is Kai, Kai, Lord dash Farmer, or hyphen, Lord hyphen Farmer.
Do we
Best
have
name
a copy? Do we have a copy of the presentation he did last couple of months ago at the town board?
Good question. He was going to send that to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look around, but that's something that Howard and Laura might want to look at.
Good
Yeah.
It's in
idea.
Slack, but it might not be there anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'll look around for it. And,
Okay.
Can I just ask a very simple question?
Sure.
There's a lot of acronyms everywhere, and I've got to get up to speed with them. So even ARPA and RFP, can you just tell me what they are so that at least?
Request for proposal. Sorry.
Okay, RFP.
Which sometimes it's request for proposals, sometimes it's request for qualifications, RFQ. It seems to be an evolving thing, but is
Okay.
what you put out when you want somebody to respond to you and offer services.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
usually you do an
ARPA,
usually you do an RFQ to have a group of people to select from, and then you ask for an RFP, which is the actual proposal of their fee. One's qualifications, one's their fee
okay,
and service that they're gonna offer.
that's a good clarification. No one has ever shared that with us before. Thank you,
Thank you.
Howard. Good to have a professional on the committee.
Absolutely.
Right.
The other side of things.
Right.
ARPA is the American Rescue Plan
Oh, right.
funds.
Yeah. Okay.
American Rescue Plan Act Fund.
Funds.
Yeah, I know. That's right. I've read that. I've seen that, and it's pinned on the board, and that's the funding. Yes,
Yes, that's the,
that the Housing Alliance is that the town is given the Housing Alliance.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, don't be shy about asking questions as the
Yeah.
new people on the committee. We lose track of what's current and what's not, and
Yeah.
what's an acronym and what's not.
Laura, there's one that Deborah sometimes brings up because she like knows them all. But she'll say one. I think there was one, and it had to do with lands and making taxes and stuff. And I'm always re-asking, "What's that one again? What's that one?"
Right. CPA,
Right.
Community Preservation Act.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
The
Yeah,
the P in ARPA stands for what?
Rescue Plan,
Plan.
American Rescue Plan
Plan.
Act
Act.
funds.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, now I forgot the other one. What was the other one, Deborah? I'm writing it down. Community Preservation.
Preservation Act, or sometimes it's CPF, Community Preservation Fund. And I agree, Laura, acronyms are just, we can't, we can be buried in acronyms and not
Sure.
have an idea what's going on.
Okay. Thank you.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So the other piece of current business is about the ARPA funds. So we were awarded the $199,000 that will be attached to an RFQ or an RFP. I guess I'm not sure which. It'll be attached to some request for all the people who are responding will know that it's coming with this $199,000 to sweeten the pot for a developer to do the infrastructure work on whatever town properties the town decides to request proposals for.
That's a good question. I have a question before you move on with that.
Yeah.
So you just made a very different clarification of what was in my mind.
Okay.
My mind is that the town kept the money and we were going to be the ones to hire an engineer to do all that stuff to get ready for, and then create an RFP, RFQ, and then that the 199,000 was gonna be what we had to do before we could even write the RFP or
That
whatever.
was our original proposal.
Okay,
That we would, because we thought that, when we took it to the town initially, Bill said, well, we have town people that can do this, some town people can do that. And so we were sort of trying to figure out how to get this site work done.
right.
So that then we could do, but when it went to the town board for discussion and a vote, my understanding is and Deborah, Catherine, that the 199 will be attached to an RFP so that the developer who is awarded the job will get this money to apply to infrastructure development. Our role in this, which is what we're discussing now, is to help write whatever that first request for is, whether it's qualifications or proposals. Deborah?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little confused too. So this is not to do the site analysis. This is actually this is the carrot to get a developer to actually say, yes, I want to build here and I'm going to do it this way. Here's my proposal. And for your accepting my proposal, I will get $199,000 to do infrastructure development.
That's my understanding. Catherine?
So I had sent out our proposal when I sent out the agenda. What we said in the proposal was that we were going to do the survey first, and we
Yeah.
estimated it would cost $15,000. And we would do, four corner, center point, major
Right.
topography,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Then I think
What's the date on that proposal? It's like a year ago?
September 30th, 2022.
Yeah.
The thing is though,
We need to clarify with Bill.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think the thing is that why we're doing that is because so much time had passed since it had been done before that we don't know what's out there anymore. We don't know
Right,
what the wetlands, what the points are,
right,
what's
right.
buildable, what's not buildable,
Yep.
and so how much the sewer and water would cost. That's why we were going for the money to get it done so that we knew what was there and put it into our RFP, RFQ, and what Bill said. So someone will take us seriously. A developer would take us seriously.
Well, we need to know what
clarify.
exactly the town expects.
Yeah.
Deborah?
So I guess
And then Howard.
I'm going to ask Howard a question as the architect who's done, I'm sure, worked with engineers and developers on site assessments.
Yeah.
So what order do you think would get us where we need to go to
Well,
develop a site?
I can answer, I think I can answer that, but I need a little backup information. The Simmons Drive and Xena properties, does that mean that there are two properties that are,
Yeah.
there'll be an RFP for two different
Yes.
properties? So it's two RFPs,
Correct.
is that correct?
Yeah.
And the 199,000 will go to which property? Does it get divided? What if it's two different developers?
Yeah, this is all unclear. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
It's a single pot of money. The Simmons Drive property is much smaller.
Okay.
But
Well, then I think you would probably, since if one property is smaller than the other, you might want to proportion the grant based on the size of development, because if one property can only develop like 3 dwelling units and the other one can develop 10, the one that can develop 10 should get the
money.
money. So the way you would figure out how to create the RFP is, I assume that both properties are developable. We know that already?
No, we don't know that.
Oh,
well,
no,
we
there was
think-
some.
Not for sure.
people had
yeah, there
walked-
was some.
There's wetland problems in Simmons Drive.
Well,
Sorry. to interrupt.
I think Kirk walked the Simmons property with Habitat for Humanity's project manager last
Yes.
August.
Right, right.
And so they seemed to think it was buildable on 2 acres.
Mhm.
So, and then the Xena, I'm not sure when that was walked.
Can
Uh,
you provide me with the addresses? I'd like to see where the property is.
Yeah,
Sure. Xena has been walked a few times. It was the primary choice consideration before the St. John's offered the Woodstock Commons site. That was the site they were looking at. Had lots of problems, lots of problems around wetlands and problems around development of sewage treatment, things like that. But now there's a new way in and new technology. And so, Deborah?
Yeah, I'm just thinking based on what Howard just said is, because I think it'd be good for all of us too, is just to put all the information about those sites that we have
Mhm.
together. And that, because we do have some, some of it's anecdotal, some of it we drew from Rupco, some of it we drew from Bill and from Bob Young when he was on this committee. And that might help to kind of figure out what's the best way to approach this so that we can be efficient with the use of funds. And really, because like Simmons is close to water and sewer, it doesn't have it, but it's close.
Mhm.
And the Xena is not, so
Yeah,
that
they're-
changes the development costs and things like that.
Yeah, they're really different.
It seems to me that in order to evaluate these two properties, you'd have to hire a civil engineer.
Mhm.
Who would do 2 things. They would create the survey, the property survey, and they can also determine whether the site can support a septic system.
Right, or multiple septic systems.
Yeah.
Right.
What we need is a couple of people who are willing to follow this through and be part of the RFP process, talk to Bill, bring we need a little subcommittee. We used to have a site subcommittee, and now we don't. So the next order of business after this is reactivating some subcommittees, but right now we're on one of them, and it's about the site development. And it would be, great, Howard, if you would.
Yeah, it sounds like something I could lend some expertise in.
Urania, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so here's my thinking. Logically, I don't have any experience like you guys have, but just logically thinking, and that's why I think we were going the other direction the whole time, is because, like you say, okay, here's this property, here's 199. If you're willing to do it, they give the bid, then they get in there, they start using some of the money and go, oh, sorry, we can't do what we really thought, or it's a much smaller, thing. And then you know what I mean? And all of a sudden they've used a chunk of the money. They're not doing what we wanted, or it doesn't work out. I think that the wiser plan is to sort of use some of that money to, have a civil engineer look at it first to see is it possible or not possible in both places,
Yeah, that's what I'm recommending.
Yeah.
And there may have been some civil engineering done by the town at some point on the Xena property. So I think, it's the beginning of the conversation. Catherine?
how do we find those assessments, earlier assessments? Because this September proposal was the first time I had seen any of this information since I had been on the committee.
You go to the Ulster County parcel viewer, there's all kinds of information on every parcel. And then there's a link to the tax information.
Right, I know the parcel viewer, but we're talking about more about, building assessment.
I think, and I don't, if I can just jump in, I'm not certain, if I'm not looking at it, but I think an older Google folder with documents from this committee would probably unearth these whatever work had been previously done, or a report on the work that had been previously done. And I mean, I'm happy to give it a go to see if I could find them and pass them on, just make
Mhm.
everybody aware where they are. If I get stuck, I'll probably ask Kirk.
Yeah,
I
of course.
I pretty much remember that they had determined that it was done so long ago, and the environmental changes, that we really needed to do it again and look at the 4 points and try to find sewer and water and what's buildable and what's not buildable. I'm pretty much sure that when Bill and Kirk and they all did the walk on Xena, and that was the determination.
Well, let's find.
Let's find the
Let's
materials, and
Mm.
maybe Bill will have a folder as well, because he's been involved in this since,
Yeah, I
Repco
could just call
did
Bill.
stuff. So, we can pull together everything we have. Who would like to work with Howard on this process?
I'll work with Howard
Great.
when I
And-
feel better.
Yes, yeah,
And I'll take a stab in advance of the two of you working on this, of finding whatever we have material
right.
and forwarding that to the two of
Okay.
you. Howard
Okay.
and Catherine.
So if we have an action steps list that we're keeping, that's an important one. Deborah said she's going to do that, and Howard and Catherine are going to follow up and talk with us if need to, follow up before then, and talk with Bill and I think we need to see what their expectation is based on how they passed the resolution. That's really, and then if we would like them to do it differently because of what we see, then we can lobby for that. Spend X, thousands of dollars for a civil engineer before you put out an RFP because X, Y, and Z. But I feel more confident if we have all the information and we've got somebody like Howard in there, asking the right questions. So that would be great. Excellent.
I just want to add one more thing for this subcommittee, and I'll tell them both, but Dennis Doyle had offered to Kirk and me, I think this was way back when, that the county, he's kind of stretched right now because he doesn't have enough staff.
He's the head of the county planning
He's the
department,
county
Dennis.
Right,
Correct.
is that he might be able to help with when we're at a point of doing an RFP. So it might be good to, when you're ready, is to circle back to him, and if need be, so that he's
Right.
another resource.
Okay, great. So now we're up to, we've set out these targets for this year, and given that we only have this meeting once a month, we started out when we first began this committee meeting twice a month. We got a lot done. But when we went to one meeting a month, which has been a few years now, we had subcommittees working in between so things could get done. And then that fell apart. So we need to, if we're only going to have one meeting a month, if we're going to continue to get things done, which is the high bar we've set ourselves, then we need to have subgroups again working in between. And the subgroups that we had were the outreach that took care of the social media messaging, newsletters, and working on in-person outreach events about housing, the site development, and we now have a little group working on that. The housing plan, development of the housing plan, and Catherine had taken leadership, and then we're going to get help with the consultants from the Housing Smart Communities Initiative, which will be help, but maybe somebody wants to join in on that. I don't know, Deborah, if you're taking role as a liaison in all of this, or if someone else should join Catherine in terms of putting that together. And the last one is, any other suggestions for what we might need at this point? Open.
So I was part of the outreach, so I'll just continue to be part of that since I've been doing that. And
Great.
I've taken on the newsletter now on
Good.
top of
Great.
Beautiful.
social media, but I could use some help with social media.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to be part of outreach. Mirena and I and Kirk were originally, and I'm happy to continue, but I don't have social media savvy, so.
And-
But it requires a little, so if anybody does or knows of somebody who'd like to perhaps just volunteer with us a little, help out, that would be great.
I mean, that's my weakness too, I'm afraid, the social media. So I don't want to, I'm happy to
Yeah.
put myself forward for the housing plan.
Right.
And the other, I'm happy to do outreach, but I think you're right. We need someone who's going to be good on the social media side of things. And yeah, and again, I just didn't know where the short-term rentals, went in terms of a subcommittee, just bearing in mind what we heard today and sort of, thinking about, I didn't know if there was anything here that we needed a subcommittee on.
I would agree with that as a part 4 short-term rental, at least to pull it together to hand off to task force of some sort. And I would be willing to help out on that too.
Me too.
It'll probably be temporary, right? Would we all say?
Yeah, I mean, because they're going to draft some legislation, so yeah. Howard?
I need to be upfront with something, so there's not a conflict of interest. When Woodstock, in 2019, when Woodstock opened started issuing STR permits, my wife thought, oh, we have this house with 2 bedrooms we never use. Let's get an STR permit. So I wasn't hot about it, but I said, if you want to, go ahead. Anyway, she applied for it. We got it. We've never used it. And I think we're going to give it up because we've never used it. And I don't want somebody sleeping in my bed. In
My husband
bedroom.
feels the same way.
Yeah. So I just wanted to be upfront. I don't want to, since I was very interested in the Granicus information. And so I'm going to give it up. So there's no conflict of interest. I mean, no one can accuse me of
Self-dealing.
Yeah.
Good
Great.
idea. But I also sort of on the other side feel like, hold on to it, don't use it.
This way, you need to keep it
Someone
out
else
of
is gonna get it.
Oh.
Well, but somebody else who is an owner occupied might get it and they need it to
Oh.
keep their home. So, this is what we have permits for.
If I wouldn't have even applied for it, if the permit fee winds up being $500 a year, I probably wouldn't do it.
Right.
So $75 was not a
Right.
brain stopper.
Yeah.
Deborah?
Yeah, so I'm not volunteering because I don't want to help, but I'm feeling a little bit like I can do some of the coordination with the county on the Housing Smart. That's one of my roles
Mhm.
that I'm doing, so I will participate in that. And that also could include support for doing the outreach and community education campaign, which might, help support the messaging newsletter, that piece of it, Susan and Irina. So the other thing is that since I've been kind of pulled into this short-term rental thing, in part because I talked to Bill and Kai and Judy Kerman, who did the mapping for that Bill asked her to do, which is a work in progress. I'd like to at least, and was part of this Granicus thing today, I'd like to participate in that so that when we hand it off, which is what I think we should do, we're doing it with all the input that we can muster in a very constructive way.
Deborah, I'm putting you down as short-term rental with Laura and myself. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being a part of that STR thing as well.
Great. I think it's going to need a lot, I think that's great, Howard.
And I think it's more of a sort of a task force than a subcommittee because
Yeah.
hopefully it will be short term,
It is.
but it's really important. And
I
I've
agree
been
it's a
interacting with the task force for a couple of years. I'm not sure who's on. I mean, Maria Elena talks as if that task force exists. I don't know who's going to be on it when she tries to reactivate it. So
one of the things I want to say about that, since we're on that topic right now, is that, I know we're being recorded at the moment, but I want to be like very clear. What was handed in from that past task force was a bunch of notes and questions There was no report. It wasn't, and I feel like, or what I think, not feel, but how I think is that to learn from that, we need to, and having some discussion with member on that task force, that there needs to be some oversight of that, because they're not necessarily, for whatever reason, lack of experience, I don't know, actually presenting, like doing research, pulling it together with the whole task force, creating a report, and then presenting that to the town board. And that's why we're here now. So I think it might be good, and I'm glad that we're deciding as a team, because we're not taking, that's not really our purview, but that we're going to be sort of making sure and helping to make this thing happen. And so one of the things that I was going to recommend is, I don't know, I mean, if we want to, I don't know if Deborah can have a conversation with Bill, but maybe someone else on the town board or the new deputy could take on that and pull together potentially a little bit, maybe some of the old task force members and some maybe new ones, like Mickey Breitenstein, who is an example of a short-term rental person. He's respectful, but he's 4-generation family here. And he has one, but he also understands, like, it's helping him to keep his house here. But he understands, and I think he's an example of a, owner occupied living here, but it's also, he understands and respects that many of the people that he knows have been pushed out, that he grew up with, have been pushed out of the town. So I think it might be a little bit like, let's mix up that group and recommend a mix up a little bit, and maybe different leadership, so that it actually we can like really have something happen.
Deborah?
As close as possible.
Yeah, so when I told Bill that, when I found out from Bill that we were part of the county shared services arrangement with Granicus, that's, I literally just found that out last week, and that information was being used by Butch to help them determine what's going on with the people who have permits and people who don't, at least who they are, to identify, right, the address identification. And then based on our follow-up today, which was extraordinary, my takeaway was that this group can actually sort of pull together, here's what we, kind of the research thing, Urania, that you're talking about. It's like, here's what we know, here's what we're doing, here's what we've learned, here are the possibilities. They recommended, Granicus, that there be, that it not be a siloed thing, but that we, there be people from different, from the town board, from the short-term rental, from the housing committee, whatever, planning, who are in conversation, building department, to that would then feed into how this process develops. I'm not stating it well,
No, you are.
but that was my takeaway from today, is that our role, I think maybe Urania used the word facilitator, is to kind of facilitate getting this going in the right direction, given all the inputs, given the fact that there was a reasonable, not hostile conversation last night. I mean, I saw progress on this issue, and I think maybe the timing is right for the housing committee to be that umbrella and help facilitate it to the next step.
I agree with you, Deborah, from last night. The only thing I would say is that they almost looked like it was so close to voting or getting ready to vote to open up the cap to these new folks, which could set precedent that might be changed come in a 6 months or a year to go backwards. And after listening to our request, but without really doing any research. And so after today, Granicus was a game changer. And part of that to add is Jeffrey, the consultant of Granicus, who ran that, we're gonna get a copy of that, who ran the short-term rental forum thing that we all missed. And he will come for free. But what Deborah said, with hopefully they requested a group,
Not just
of
not
everybody
just me.
together, and that he'll come and do a free, assessment and go over what's going on for us. And then we'd have to pay him
Mhm.
to run, kind of like Nan Stolzenberg.
Mhm. Yeah.
Question-
Howard?
I have a question. Does anyone know how much taxes Woodstock has received from short-term rentals? Doesn't Woodstock get a portion of what the county collects?
They do, they're supposed to be paid, that's supposedly in the beginning paid for Butch to be hired. And then since Ellen left and Butch took over that, we've since hired another person, but I don't know what the new budget, we have to ask, I say.
But does the money go, if this is a hotel and motel occupancy tax that the county
Right.
collects, or
Yes.
that the county gets, it's 2%. And I don't know where it goes from there.
We don't know if it's dispersed to the towns.
It may go into the county's
Yeah.
general fund. I mean,
Oh, so
we could ask our
Woodstock might
county,
not be getting any of it?
Right.
well, we can ask our county legislator,
Right.
who's
Mhm.
Jonathan Hepner. And
Right.
so this then becomes part of, this is what I think this committee does well. We're finding out information, we're seeing where things are not connected, and we're helping to connect the dots. So
Mhm.
I see our role as helping to connect the dots on this issue so that we're all not going off in different directions at different times.
Right.
Just one other
Mhm.
I
Sure.
wanted to ask about. In trying to control the single short-term rentals in Woodstock, and keeping in mind that there are people who are having a hard time hanging onto their properties, and having a short-term rental helps them stay in their properties.
Mhm.
Do we have to be careful that we don't in doing this to try and get revenue for Woodstock and control it? Shouldn't we be talking to short-term rental permit holders
Yeah.
to get their kind of outlook on the things that we're going to be proposing?
That's
Yeah.
what I recommended Scott
Yeah.
Breitenstein.
Pardon?
That's what I recommended Scott Breitenstein to be. on the
Mickey
task force.
Breitenstein.
Sorry,
right?
Mickey Breitenstein.
Oh, he's the FDR.
He's
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I mean, if he would want to be, it depends, whether Bill reactivates the task force or there's some other conglomeration because Granicus comes in, but
Right.
yet more people definitely need to be involved because there's a lot of perspectives, as we've seen,
Yeah.
that
Well,
aren't taken into account.
So just so you know, there were two other short-term rental people involved along with Laura Yilgasicker, who was there.
Yeah.
Right?
So there has been representation on the task force from short-term rental owners. I
Right.
think it would be nice to have a new group potentially and fresh eyes, or maybe some old, some new, but some fresh eyes there, and potentially different leadership because there was a lack of ability and knowledge, and there was no report that came out. It was a bunch of notes. So, which left the town board to have to workshop that and where we are now. And it's just been kind of a.
But I think, Joanna, I think that's one of the things that again, that we got out of today. And like all of us who are volunteers, we have different skills, but whether it's Granicus or somebody else, the task force, whomever it is, doesn't have to go it alone as volunteers trying to figure this out. It's too complicated. So having this fellow Jeff, the planner, or somebody else who can give us some guidance. The other planner for the county, Robert, who some of us have met with, Leibowitz,
Yeah.
he's been following what the city of Kingston has done on owner occupied, non-owner occupied, to deal with some of the case law that's coming down. So, again, I think our what we can bring to this is that we're kind of in the seat of seeing it from different perspectives and trying to bring it together to
Mhm.
help move it
Just a
forward.
reminder, I
be
don't know
good.
if everybody heard that, but Jeffrey, this guy Jeffrey from Granicus can help actually write zoning law.
Right.
in-
That we'd have to pay him for. That we'd have to
Mhm.
pay for.
Yeah.
Right, but he
Yeah,
can
sure.
do that. That's what we'd be paying him for beyond
Mhm.
the free
Mhm.
part, after the free part.
Yeah. So it seems like we've got, I just want to be clear about the game plan. Deborah is going to go back in the files and whatever else she can pull from sources to see what information we have on the sites and things like that.
Right.
This group maybe that because almost everybody is on in this group is interested in the short-term rentals. What's the first step in terms of having an impact? Do we want to, I mean, Deborah is the liaison, so do you want to go to Bill and say that we discussed at this meeting some steps
Yeah.
toward
I-
working here and about whatever you've learned from Granicus that you want to convey?
I'd like to get that from, and maybe I'll take this on, is going to Bill, but with, Howard, Laura and Urena and I kind of just putting together, and I can, kind of reiterate what I know we're already doing, what we learned from today, and then take that to Bill, because he did say he wanted to know what we thought of this program, what it could do for us. And also he was very concerned about costs, because he said when he spoke to them, they came up with very big numbers, and it kind of just, he said it was way over what he could imagine spending. Now that
Yeah,
may
did he-
not,
Did he mention what those numbers were?
he did not, he did not.
And we don't know if he took those numbers into account with what the increased income would be either. So we don't really know that conversation.
idea.
So I just wanted to clarify what you all thought the next step was going to be.
Maybe we should meet with Bill. once We have
Yes, I think
our
it's
things
exactly what we gotta
together.
do first.
That would be good.
Good first step.
Yeah,
Yeah, because also what we figured out, if they start charging, if that happens right away to up the fees, which I don't think you have to change the zoning law about. They
No.
put that in a way you don't have to. They could just
Right.
potentially do resolution, start charging $500, send out a fee, send out the letters. And then I did that times 277, that's $138,500 right there, which could
Mhm.
potentially cover, if those
Sure.
fees are truly coming to us, that covers whatever we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And the other piece too.
Plus the taxes.
Yeah, well, the
Yeah, somehow
obvious-
getting a handle on the taxes. Yeah.
so why don't we have a subgroup meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Great.
so we don't
Yeah.
take all the time
Good.
today, and then we'll pull that together into a discussion with Bill,
Great.
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
On the subgroups I have so far, outreach, Urena, site
And me.
development.
And
Don't forget me.
Oh, you're gonna do it? I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I said I would do that again. Yeah.
Site development, Howard and Catherine.
Mhm.
Housing plan, Catherine.
and Laura,
And Laura said she would work on that.
STR, everybody but Susan.
I mean,
So,
I'll be happy
not
to.
me.
and not,
Not Catherine.
not-
Laura, Urena, Deborah, Howard. Okay,
It's good. You're all in town. It's good.
That's good.
okay, so. Laura,
Okay.
okay, two, that's everybody's got like two, right? Except for Deborah.
Well, but she's the
Deborah's
liaison.
working.
She's doing so much anyway. She doesn't
Okay.
need additional.
Can't take on another,
committees.
I'm
You
sorry.
said you were gonna sort of, trickle in without.
Yeah.
This or that.
Yeah,
As needed.
I mean, I'm happy to do it, whatever I can, but I can't get
Yeah.
so commit, I've got the Housing Oversight Task Force.
No, I get it, I get it.
Yeah. Yes. We
Please.
definitely don't need you to be doing more.
Please be a little,
We don't need you to be doing more.
understand.
Okay, that's what that group is going to set up, and you'll report to us what's going on, which is great.
Yep.
And I will send you. I have notes from my interactions with the short-term rental task force.
Great.
So I will send you those too.
Good.
When
When
when-
what?
was
Fr-
that?
Oh, when they were meeting, you know.
Oh, a long time ago.
Well, yeah, a long time ago when they actually were functioning. Yes, 2 years, whatever that was. So next on the list is the onboarding process for new members. We have new members.
Yeah.
We might even get
you.
another new member if we can scratch one up somewhere. That would be nice.
It would
But-
be nice, but
I
so
So-
good to have the two of you. out
Yeah.
there.
I just want to say
Catherine?
we've accomplished a lot in the past month. We just want to recognize that for a second, that
Yes.
we have 2 new members. We did our annual report for 2022 just a month ago. We did a newsletter. That was a big effort, particularly from Urena and I. We had the ARPA funds passed, and what else? Short-term rental recommendations. Like, gosh, we've been
Yeah.
churning it out the past month. So
We have
Oh,
been
and-
busy.
And not to mention the Housing Smart Communities next.
Initiative. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
We
have
have,
to say, like, sorry,
go ahead.
that, like, just Laura and Howard, if you could even, like, it's really sad because of the negative stuff that happened, so overshadowed. Maybe it's the Piscean sun, I don't know, but so overshadowed. Like, we've been literally, March is when we started 4 years ago.
Hmm.
So we have been doing so much research, so much work, so many conversations. And then folks that went off and other teams, which is really Susan, Kirk, and Deborah, and the work that had been done and all that to kind of bring these main initiatives together and move them forward. And we finally got the funding
Mm.
is like, it's just such a long time coming. So it's really, you're kind of here at an exciting time. It was looking really like heartbreaking sad for the last 6 months specifically, since we first sort of brought that to the town. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel, I would like to say, just saying.
Yes, there is. And I want to say that we are all over Hudson Valley One this week.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We've got our thank you letter in, which is set right in the middle of the op-ed piece that we did, which is then followed by the Woodstock Housing Alliance's letter introducing themselves, followed by Nick Henderson's really comprehensive report on last week's meeting.
Yeah.
So we are heavily in the news this week.
Plus isn't the point of view letter in this?
Yes, the op-ed piece is there. They've changed it from point of view to op-ed now, so
Oh, okay.
so now it's an op-ed. But yes, and it's right in the middle of the letters, which is, you know, it's like everything is well placed.
I didn't get to see that. I'm excited.
Yeah, it went up. I got up just before the meeting last night. I got a text from somebody saying, "Great op-ed piece." They had put it up on the webpage early,
Oh.
so it got up right
I
on the
didn't
front
see the
page.
letters, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at them, but
Yeah, it's all there.
the point of
Yeah.
the point of
I
view
s-
looks great. My brother, the journalist,
Mm.
Washington Post, said it's fabulous, well written, very,
Oh, good.
very to
good,
the point.
Good.
Thank you, everybody who did
Ah,
that writing, by the way. Susan.
A pleasure.
People.
So new
Back
members.
to
What-
onboarding. Sorry to.
Yes, that's it. We got off a little bit. That's okay. It's all part of it.
It's actually a good segue because
Mhm.
we had talked at the last meeting about assigning buddies for each new member, but then I was thinking about what we used to do at HarperCollins, my publisher, where I worked for so many years, which we would do the buddies for like really junior people, but we didn't usually have buddies for more mature people. So just to be honest. And so what we would do for the, more senior people in the group, we would say, have a meeting or a phone call with these key players that you're going to be interacting with as you go on your journey in this role. And so I was thinking that unless, Howard or Laura, if you'd like a buddy, that's fine too. Just to ask questions about acronyms or something.
Sure.
But I was thinking we could set up phone calls with each one of us so you can ask us specific questions. When I was talking to Susan about this idea last week, she suggested that we take a topic that we'd like to talk to each one of you about. So just to target the conversation a little bit.
I think each of us has specialties that we've been engaged in. And so, you know, that might be helpful. I don't know. What do you think, Laura and Howard?
I think
Yeah.
there are questions I have as we talk about these things. The other thing that occurs to me is I don't know all the personalities that we're going to be, we as a group or individually are going to need to talk to. I mean, I've met Bill McKenna. I really haven't had a discussion with him, but I kind of need to introduce myself to him formally. He knows that I'm a board member of the library, on the Woodstock Library. And he doesn't live too far from me either. But and then you know, the planners that you mentioned, so
Right.
I'd like to get to know who those people are.
Yeah. Well, I think I was initially it would just be us, this group that you could
Yes.
have a call with. And then eventually we can branch out to people outside our committee.
I think it's important to remember as you do go in to, you know, if you're taking Howard or Laura in with each of us to a meeting, for example, to remember that they're new in this and to, you know, make sure they're well introduced and have an opportunity to fully, you know, show what they're participating in here. And
Right.
pretty soon you'll get to know, we got to know a lot of these people because we asked them to come to our meetings initially and present to us. So they came to us and talked about housing and we got to know them that way. And others of us have worked with them on other projects, but yeah, you will get to know them for sure. Laura?
A couple of things spring to mind. I think one, which you just sort of raised, Susan, would be I think really helpful to be able to shadow you know, you on attending different things, because that's always a really good way to get to meet people and just sort of see how everything functions. And again, I mean, I don't know how Howard feels about this, but potentially, you know, us both, rather than you individually, is that what you're assuming? But we could get together, Howard and I, on it with each of you, or do you think, you know, or do you want to duplicate that and me on one? Because maybe because Howard might have different questions that will be helpful for me to, you know, I might have asked, so equally it saves duplication.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Laura, that we should put together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one other thing I was going to request, because I think it's going to be really helpful, is if we could have some sort of visual some sort of something down on paper that helped us to see how all the different groups who have a say in housing in the town, and indeed the county, how that branches out. So we can, you know, I can kind of appreciate, okay, this group has a role for this, and this person within group, and these are just so I think that would be really helpful.
Okay. Yeah. Urena?
You know, it just hit me when you just said that. The first, so you guys know, and this might cover a bunch of bases, but will be really helpful to Howard, Laura, and even a little bit for Catherine, I think. But it's been 4 years. Why not? There are different people in those positions. Why not redo the interviews that we had done originally on a portion of our like the last bit or in the beginning first half hour, where we ask March Gallagher, Kai Farmer, and Dennis Doyle. We've got a new county executive, Metzger, you know, like there's our new assessor. Like we did this, we have a new building department, you know, Butch, Francis. So all that has changed in 4 years, that maybe we could do that. Remember, they came, introduced themselves, talked a little bit, and now that things have come so far, we can have new conversations with these people about housing and get to know them, and them to get to know us as well. And maybe they have some information. Hello? No?
Anybody?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I would like to participate in that. Get to know these
For
people.
sure. I mean, if that's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Deborah?
I don't need-
Deborah, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I think in theory, that is a good idea. Certainly Butch is new, Kai is new, March has never met with us, but I know how busy they are. I mean, I went in to see Butch the other day and it was all I could do to get 10 minutes. Dennis is down one person because Amanda Laval left to work with the county executive, and the county executive is beyond busy. So I don't know how practical it is my point. However, having said that, since Zoom is a great ally, there may be a way that we could do something where we could have a few conversations. And the other thing I think would be is to do a new, like a flow chart, I guess, of somebody pointed out of just what different groups and individuals, what their roles are
Right.
with housing. I mean,
Mhm.
actually, I think that'd be good for all of us. But certainly for Laura and Howard, and then have conversations together to ask questions so that they're up to speed and that we're also up to speed on what the different entities are doing. So.
And I think if we have specific questions, I mean, when we started out, we just said, what do you think about affordable housing? What should we know? What are the barriers? What are the opportunities? But we can't ask them to have that conversation again. But we could, if we have specific questions of any of them, that we could do it that way. And we may develop those as we're working through the housing plan and the site development, things like that. I would say if we have an agenda, I wouldn't feel bad asking people to spend some time with us.
I'll tell you another thing that might be quite helpful to sort of for Howard and I to have access to. I mean, I know obviously you talked about Google and you've got some documents there, and there are sort of versions of all different things in various places, some of which obviously we're just talking about site developments and things that are around the two properties on Simmons Drive and Xena. Maybe if someone could pull together, look at what out of everything that's sort of come, maybe, we've focused on this in the past 4 years, here's where we are now. Yes. So, all of the sort of the pathways or the key, things that you focused on, and maybe what's the most current piece of the current, report or, up-to-date piece of information in whatever written form that it might be useful for us to perhaps read through, so that we're kind of up to speed in that way. It could be a sort of,
You mean like our progress reports?
Well, whatever you may have, you might have like the latest minutes or set of agreements or piece of legislation that's been passed in relation to whatever it is, or the funding request that's been made. So this is where we are in terms of the housing plan, or I don't know. You talked about, as you said, the short-term rental task force. There was a set of notes, or that that hasn't been touched since there. Or this, I don't know if there's any sort of key pieces of information, whatever form that may be. Is there a central place that we can access them, or how do so that we that's all it.
Catherine was starting to reorganize the drive, and I think I can help do that also, because we had our drive organized by year and topic.
Right.
So for some things you have to go back to 2020 to find them. And I think maybe if we could just go through some of those files and pull the folders into topic area folders,
Right.
not dated, but
Right.
pick out not things that are in draft form, but the things that are final,
Right.
or the things that we capture at least our last set of thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
It'll take a little work, but I think it's worth doing, particularly since we've found that you can't leave things on Slack. They disappear after 90 days, I think, 30, I don't know. So we had been using Slack as the easy way to share our documents, but now you can't go back and find those anymore. So I don't even, we've sort of slipped up on adding things to the drive. I have them probably in my files. Catherine might have them in hers. Kirk will have them in his, but they're not in Essential. So we have to go back and do that. That's
I think
something we have to
also
do.
to add to that, I mean, I got a bunch of stuff I just kept saving in my own, but it was like, it's so daunting to go there.
Yep.
But it was like once it's organized, that's when, and you're like ready, that's when I would go in and start adding, looking, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's for me. I just wanted to say one thing really quick. Look, we can invite these people, do what we did before. We write a letter, we have somewhat of an agenda, we prepare. We ask them to come for 30 minutes. Zoom, they used to, at that time they were coming in person, so I think Zoom's possible, and that's how we met the deputy for housing of Pat Ryan. What's her name? I'm blanking out on her name. So maybe, Metzger's
She's not there anymore, so.
right. And I mean, maybe Metzger's not going to be coming, but Metzger's going to send their housing deputy. I don't know, but that's good because we need to meet that person.
But that's going to be Kai. He's the housing deputy.
Oh, see, I thought he was on the planning department and
Yeah,
planning
but
board.
he's the guy, he works for the county government under the county executive.
Okay.
He's the point person for housing
Okay.
for the county executive.
Yeah.
There may be somebody else at the legislature.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that some of these people, and I'm pretty sure March has been doing a lot of work on our behalf, just doing it because she cares and grew up here. She might really appreciate that we ask her to come and tell us what she's doing. And if she has any suggestions for us, or anything to add to our housing plan of data. I don't know.
Howard?
It's something that I've been curious to learn. One of the first things you guys did as a housing committee, it's my understanding, is make proposals to the zoning ordinance. Isn't that correct?
Yes, we worked on those. And then the zoning revisions committee was taking those up. And then the supervisor decided to create the Housing Oversight Task Force to work with a professional. Deborah helped write a grant to get that going. So they're actually doing the zoning revisions.
Is there a published or a list of the proposed revisions to the zoning? I'd be curious.
Soon.
Oh.
There was a draft.
Oh.
We all looked at it and there was public, review. And now there's going to be another one. Deborah.
Oh.
So as I'm listening to Howard and Laura, I think that either the two of them meeting with us individually, asking questions, or us kind of giving them a rundown to kind of as an orientation tool might help, because a lot of the questions that I'm hearing today might get answered in that conversation. And, an hour or so could be very helpful. And then that might lead to certain documents that they, at the same time that you're updating the documents, Susan, as you decide putting them into topics, chronologically, I think that would be helpful for all of us, really. It's a huge job, but it's a start if you start somewhere.
Right.
Because then I think Laura and Howard, you can refer back to those documents to get more detail, and it'll start to make sense. It'll be a picture. Because it can be daunting to take in all of this stuff kind of bits and pieces.
Yes.
That's my thought. And I'd be willing to speak to those people to spend an hour or two.
Have either of you or both of you looked at the timeline of for the committee that we published with, we put out with the annual report?
I read it, but if you ask me what it said, I don't.
No,
Yeah.
no, but I think it's a good reference in terms of developing questions. You know, okay, I see you did this. What was, I'd like to see some document around that. It might be, before we do have whatever Zoom conversations we're going to have, then it might help to develop the questions and not miss areas that you haven't even thought of, because it pretty much covers everything.
Yeah, if I don't recall exactly which document that was. Was
I
that
will-
put in the newsletter, was it?
No, it was an attachment to the annual report,
Oh.
but for the town board, but I'll send it around to
Great.
you.
Yeah.
No problem. I'll do that.
I see on the agenda you have here accompanying documents.
Yes.
Were those?
Did you not get the agenda, Howard? I was
I did
thinking.
not.
Tuesday,
I
like,
looked for it. I don't know who sent it.
Catherine sent,
Oh,
but I hope I didn't. We had
There's
a
3 or 4 documents all together in that
yeah, I
email.
remember getting it in December, in January, but I did not get it for this
Oh.
month.
well, I'll send it all to you again. I
Okay.
hope I didn't
please.
get the email address.
Oh, you know what? There's isn't it How
Oh,
King
Yeah.
versus
Okay.
Howard?
yeah, we had the wrong person for a while, but since you got the link to the meeting, I think the other documents just came the other day, so hopefully, but we'll,
That's Friday.
yeah. So anyway, you get
Don't
those.
distract, Susan, you're giving me a headache. Where are we?
Pardon?
Just stay on there. Don't.
Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting that you see this. Okay, so the last thing is update to the mission statement.
Yeah, this
Catherine
one,
had-
this one take 10 minutes, but I was just looking at it a couple weeks ago and I was working on the
Let's see
newsletter.
if I have it somewhere to share. That would be nice.
Woodstock Housing Committee, in response to demographic studies that identify severe and long-term health.
Feels just very like general and it was in kind of like summarizing what the committee thought it would be focusing on and it has achieved a lot of these things. So I was wondering if it could use an update
Mm.
to say what we're focusing on now.
Can everybody see it?
Can't see it yet.
No? Oh, interesting. I'm screen sharing, it says.
Well,
Maybe new share?
when you
Is
do
it on your
screen share, it's the
desktop?
top left corner
Let's-
where it does your whole, you
Here we go.
gotta pick the one.
There you go.
Seeing
No.
the agenda.
There it is.
No? There.
Yeah.
Now I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be larger, a little bit.
Can it be larger? Sure. Why not? Can you move my people here out of the way? Okay.
How come the other one gave us a taller, like 100, not 120? Can you do?
What? What are you talking about?
Had it at 90, you went to 120. Can you do 100?
Oh, I see. I was just doing my fingers. I was not using 100. How's that? How's
Whatever.
that?
That's a little better.
That's 100.
Can you raise it into your screen a little higher?
Sure.
Yeah, before you could see a bigger screen, but this one you can't. I
This
don't know.
is fine. I'm not proposing that we rewrite it now, but
Yeah, well, I just wanted people to
Yeah.
take a look at it.
I feel like, a lot of these things did get spun off to other groups. So like, right, currently the housing committee, for example, isn't going to be recommending zoning law changes like that's a different task force. So,
Right.
I mean, I could
Yeah, we
take a
should
stab at
look at
rewriting
this.
it or- yeah.
Yeah,
I just
because
wanna represent it too.
It's accurate at the moment. It's still accurate at the moment.
It's still accurate, but I think it could be more focused about what we're really trying to do now.
among others, the following possibilities in support of the plan. And yeah, some of this has moved around a little bit. Others are still
Well, now,
current.
Mhm.
now we have the Housing Smart Communities Initiative that we've joined.
Mhm.
Part
We
of
can
a
Put that there, yeah.
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
organized
Yep.
program to advance all these goals in our town
And bring resources to
bring
them.
resources. Yeah.
That we're a bronze member.
Yes.
Is that a
We need-
mission? Is that a mission? You know, like a mission is a little different than.
Well, that's
No,
what,
well, I'm just saying, this is our page on the town website, and we should think about what we want to put on the page. So-
Yeah. Hmm.
Says on the last paragraph, WHOC, what does that stand for?
I think that was a typo. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
it's
Yeah.
the Housing Options Committee is what we
Or
were.
we were
Oh, is that
originally.
right? Oh,
We were that, yes. Yeah, so this needs some help.
Yeah, it needs updating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Catherine, you said you're going to take a
I'll
stab
take
at
a
this.
stab at it, yeah. I
Yeah.
could bring it back next month.
I mean, what other possibilities that we're actually working on, that, like
Exactly.
housing smart communities, that makes it a little more current?
Yeah.
And
Does
okay.
does the title need to be, I'm just asking, I don't know what the convention is, to have it as committee mission, or could you put a mission statement within that and just give it a title that then allows some sort of maybe more focused goals and objectives or whatever to be included? I don't know. So does it make it too long?
Well, you could have 2 sections.
Yeah. Well,
Like
that,
Woodstock Housing Committee : mission statement.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying? No.
No, well, if, I mean, you could have a mission statement. I mean, a mission statement is broader, isn't it? And then
Mhm.
within that, if you you know, whatever, there could be some specific targets or goals
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
come
I
from
agree.
that commission.
If this is on the town website, is that what you're saying, Catherine?
Yeah, that's
It would
right.
be great to have, I think, something that says the committee in 2023 is currently working on.
Yeah,
List a few of those things. I think that for the public, anybody who happens to look at it,
Right.
you know,
What
it
they
might
wanna
be more
target.
might be more communicative of our current activities.
right.
These sort of lay flat on the page. So I think,
Yeah.
it would be.
Just to remember, like mission, when you look up what a mission statement, it definitely is a more general, broad, what Laura was saying. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
too. It's a little more general, and it shouldn't be too much in the minutia of details. So I agree with, like, you have your mission statement, it should be tight, you know.
Which is
and-
what it is, that first paragraph, the first sentence.
Yeah, it's just a paragraph or two. It's not all the other
And the
details.
last paragraph too is good for the mission.
Hmm.
And then you add, the update.
So that could, yeah.
Maybe towards that, as you say, currently
Yeah.
they're working on these objectives or these, you know, whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
key things.
Deborah?
I kind of lost, oh no. I'm taking notes and I think I just dropped something out. Oh, well, I'll listen to the recording.
Oh.
So, you know, one of the things that I encounter in the various meetings I have and discussions about housing and SDRs and everything, and I talk about the housing committee, people really don't know like who we are. And I would have to go back at the website, but I mean, does it say we were formed out of, does it say our history, like a paragraph saying we were formed out of the comprehensive plan? It was one of the actions from the comprehensive plan.
I think it's in our application, and which you can also look to for part of this mission, right?
I
There's
mean,
a-
I'm just thinking of the page. If we're looking at the town website page,
Right.
want to get something out that really wraps us into, you know, the breadth and depth of what we are. And then from that, because from the comprehensive plan, that's how we came up with our mission, right? Of what was the sort of vision of the town that involves creating options, housing options for everyone that were inclusive. I mean, it was kind of like a pretty broad statement, as you're saying, and then there were these more specific goals and objectives that came from that. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if we take the first paragraph, the first sentence, and the last sentence, and we tweak them a little, that's our mission statement. It mentions, I mean, we could tweak it to say that we found that we were appointed in response to the comprehensive plan, but both of these sentences kind of cover it, and the other things are more activities.
right. Right.
that we're doing. And I think we can definitely make that more user-friendly and, speaking of messaging, and current.
Okay, can I just say, this is what,
Howard and then Urana.
Yeah, I guess the fact that the committee was an outcome of the comprehensive plan, number one. Number two, that Laura and I had to be interviewed by the town board in order to be approved, and now we have to be sworn in by by Jackie Early.
Right.
Does that make us kind of an officer of the town of some kind?
You're official. Makes you official.
An official volunteer, yes.
Is that what that means? I mean,
Yeah.
what is our obligation and what is our responsibility as far as relating to the public of Woodstock?
Yeah.
For instance, as a board member on the library, there are certain, like parliamentary, when we have meetings, it has to be a parliamentary process, the parliamentary laws. And we have to record them and have a quorum. Is that true with the housing committee as well?
Yeah, we don't follow Robert's rules, but we do have an order, and we have an agenda, and we are public, and we have to publicize when our meetings are, and there's a link if somebody wants to be in public be heard. They can do that. We have to have
We
a
have open
quorum to
meetings.
vote on anything,
Open meetings law, we follow open meetings law and all the ethics and other rules that any official town committee, follows,
Yeah.
right?
What about subcommittees? When we meet in small groups, does that have to follow? I know with the library, when we have a committee, like I'm the chairman of the facilities and planning, we don't have to follow any
No.
open meetings laws.
No.
No.
Not-
No. Urana?
so if you go to the Woodstock Housing Committee application, the first paragraph pretty much covers what we just talked about. It's all set, that's up to date, it's nice and tight, and that's what it says right there, mission. So, boom, done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if we're trying to make it sounds like we're expanding this into our public page on the town of Woodstock website, that we would have first a little history, which is on the application, on the next page, background, under background. We could put background in there. We could then, right after that, next paragraph, mission or section. And then after that, the bottom, future work in 2023.
Working
Which
on
is
this.
in our progress report, done.
Yeah.
Does that make it easy
Yeah, sure.
and accurate and up to date? Because we just did this.
Yes. Yeah. How do we change the page? We write something and send it to Melanie, or what do we do?
Yeah, I was gonna send her an update on the members of the committee,
Oh, right, because we have to have new.
but I
Yeah.
just haven't felt well enough this week.
Right.
Yeah,
So do you want to
Okay.
pull that together from the application and
Yeah.
add some things to it? And
Well, I want to show it to you guys first.
yeah, you can send it around, sure.
Yeah, but the application has the first two sections and then just pulling from the progress report, boom, done.
Right.
And then tweak it however you want.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing here. There. Okay.
Hey, I was supposed to say something.
So we have a meeting next month, 22nd is, and that's the same time as just before the Housing Alliance has their meet the board session. So Kirk asked me yesterday if he could come to our meeting in because of the timing of that one in April. They're having some research. They paid to have some research done about housing funding and some other needs and a needs assessment about housing. So they're doing a lot of research and more current than what ours is pretty old. So he would like to come share that with us in the April meeting, just so we know. Okay.
Woo.
All right. Anything else we didn't cover?
Did we not the local 49 local option exemptions that can help more people afford home ownership
Yep.
document.
Yeah,
What is that something from Pattern from Progress? Is that something we need to do something with, or it's just there?
Deborah, yeah.
So this is a good segue because the Housing Oversight Task Force, in addition to working on new zoning code, has in our process and getting comments from various people in the town, has come up with a list of non-zoning recommendations, policies that we are close to. They're pretty general, but we want to share them. Obviously, the Housing Committee, we're hoping would endorse them, and maybe you'll comment on them when they go to the town board. But the Pattern for Progress list is a perfect attachment for one of our recommendations, which are these incentives that tax incentives that towns can adopt. So I guess I'm kind of turning to you all and to see, is this an opportunity for us to just either both support the town looking at these? Do we need to look at them? I mean, I don't know how much we need to discuss, but just pass them on to the town board as options for them to consider for improving, having more resources available to the community for housing. And that's what they're about.
Right. I mean, I think these are the carrots that go along. As we see, the zoning revisions can only do so much. If we want to actually have the opportunities in the new zoning law become affordable opportunities, we need to have some of these carrots. So I think if people would look at some of these, you don't have to, study them and make, considered recommendations, but I think we should be familiar enough with them that when we send them to the town board and say, we've looked at these and there's some great ideas in here, you want to do whatever your next step is to determine which ones the town might do. I think our approach is, unless you have some of these things, this zoning law is not going to accomplish the affordability that we need. It's going to,
That's what we're saying, Susan. So you're
right,
echoing exactly what we're saying.
right.
That would be good.
I think, does everybody have this 49 options, whatever they are?
No,
That doesn't ring a bell with me.
Was it in Slack?
Was it? I don't remember.
I think it was in Slack.
It's in Slack. Let's see. So it would be, so if you familiarize yourselves with the Slack channels, it's in, nothing is in zoning. So let's see, is it in funding?
I
I
wonder
don't remember.
out in an email.
Nope, I don't think so. I think it's in an email. So it was probably before you were on the committee. So we should post it in Slack. It's the simplest way. And then if you want to download it into your computer, because it will disappear from Slack, and but I will.
I have a question, sorry, before we go.
Yeah.
I have a question for Deborah. What is the Ulster County Legislator Acts to define affordable housing as a county purpose? The legislation that was Ulster County legislation. I
Yeah.
skimmed through it, but what does that really, and like shortly, what does that mean? What does that mean for us? Like,
I don't know what it means for us. I know that means that the county, if they pass the law and the county executive signs it, it means that they're going to have housing needs as a priority, and then when they go to do certain actions and budget and stuff, that they'll take that into consideration. I haven't looked at the details to see if there's anything specific in it, but I think it's a commitment to the county is making a priority of housing.
Yeah, which is nice. Okay, I think someone want to move that we be finished here.
So do we have any, I mean, we talked about the short-term rental, getting together. Is there anything, is there any meeting or any, and Howard and I do it? Is there anything specific that you want to say that I'm going to take away from this in terms of?
One of you is going to pull together a Zoom meeting for in between to talk about the short-term rentals, correct?
Yeah.
Somebody want to say that you'll do that?
What was that again? I
To
didn't hear
pull
that.
together a Zoom amongst those of you, it's Howard, Deborah, Urena, and Laura, I believe. You want to have a Zoom meeting to talk about the short-term rental process.
Deborah was gonna chair this because she's the liaison and probably gonna talk to Bill first, and then once she talks to Bill, then pull us together, right?
You know, I have to, I'm not sure which goes first, the chicken or the egg, but whether we meet first and then reach out to Bill in one case or another, I mean, I don't have a very, I only have my personal Zoom account, so we'd have to get the town because mine only lasts a half hour.
Right.
You know,
Mine works 40 minutes. So Deborah, what I'm saying is that okay, let me put it this way. I have very limited time.
me too.
But I actually, like, I have more than full-time job, and I have these things, and I have other stuff, and I'm by myself doing life. So I really would like to make this meaningful in the sense that we have something new or somebody in the group that we like, either Bill's there or this new guy's there, or we have something, because we've already talked a lot about it today. We saw the thing today.
So I don't think we're going to get to the decision point today. I think what came out of today is I'll send the meeting minutes around. There'll be a follow-up plan. Nobody wants anyone to be spending inordinate amounts of time on these things. None of us have that. We want to be focused and move it to the next phase, including getting information back to Bill from what we've learned from Granicus. So I do think we need to do that first.
Yeah.
And then we can go to the supervisor and say, here's what the housing committee has done. So I would be willing, I can't say precisely when, to pull that conversation together with Howard, Laura, Urena, and myself.
One thing I do think is worthwhile is just waiting, because until we have that figure. Do you remember, which was going to take about a week?
She said a week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, right. So we need, so that's great. Thank you, Laura. So I think,
Sort of, can I say something really quick?
and I just,
Bill and the rest of the team are getting ready to go open that cap up and move forward. He has no idea what we did today.
Getting
Well,
ready
they don't
to
have a
open it
meeting
up.
until next month, yes?
Yeah, but they do work outside of this just like we do.
But they'd have to have a resolution and vote on it, I
Did you say
believe.
Bill was getting ready to open up what?
yeah, so I think
The
there's,
town board and Bill are pushing to open up from last night's meeting to start opening up the cap and allowing people in, and was asking for that information today.
Oh,
from the
open
group.
up the cap on the.
To allow these 11 people who
11.
have petitioned to come in.
Slash 22 people, whatever it is, but a lot of
11.
11 people.
Okay. I think what we need now is, what is our game plan?
Right, so our game plan is to be able to take what we got from Granicus and what we know the town is doing and put our heads together so that we can have a cogent communication to Bill, who asked for our assessment based on what we heard today about Granicus. If there's something else we want to say about short-term rentals, that's kind of in addition to, but the one thing that we were definitely doing today was meeting with Granicus, and from that meeting, we would be able to assess what we heard and learned, and then convey that to Bill and the town board through him as to how this could be helpful for the town and what our recommendation is. So we have to first digest it. This is Deborah speaking. I need to digest it. We spent an hour and a half in a Zoom getting a lot of information, and I would like to digest it and then meet with our little subgroup. Getting that those numbers from them would be helpful, because when we go to the town, we want to say, this is what it's going to cost, and this is how it this
The
is
benefit. Mhm.
benefit, and here's the revenue that's going to be generated, and here's our recommendation on how we think this could help us. So, you know, we're not going to have the steps all laid out today because we just heard the information for the first time. So
So if each of you can work on your own, organizing your own takeaway,
Yeah,
then
that's
so
good.
when we meet, it's a
Deborah
little,
will pull together a
and I'll
Zoom.
pull together a Zoom, and as soon as we get the numbers, we'll see how soon after that we can actually meet.
Is it worth us being proactive and contacting Samantha to say, look, on the back of you know, your presentation, and bearing in mind, you know, your recommendation to get things moving quickly, we've penciled in a meeting for, and if we set a date now saying 7 or 8 days time, can you please make sure you've got the figures to us by then?
Well, she wanted to meet with more than just us.
She has two things, right, and she has two things to do before she meets with us. She needs.
No, I don't mean that we're going to meet with her. I'm saying to let her know that we need to have a meeting. We're going to have a meeting, you know,
We need
Bill.
to get for her by that day.
correct. Could she get the figures to us by that day? So then we've set the time, and then, you know,
Right.
it's just a
I mean,
matter
we
of asking the town to set up, we're getting the Zoom set up. I'm just saying. It's just
Well,
a
we
simple-
can ask her. I got the impression she had a group of people in her organization she needed to speak with, and she needed to speak to the county, and there's a bureaucracy of how the county's contract is structured. So I'm just reading through what I heard her say, why she needed a week. We could remind her and say, we're keen to get this information from you as soon as possible, because we're going to meet and then send our recommendations to the town.
Yeah.
So we could do it that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Might help. kind of
Goose her along. Mhm.
goose
Yeah.
her, yeah. Keep
Yeah.
the ball
Yeah,
rolling.
yeah,
Okay.
So we could do that. Yeah, I think
Sure.
that's fine.
okay.
I feel like I want to reiterate, I think we're missing the point here to Bill, that if you as the Housing Alliance could just say, Bill, look, there was a game changer with Granicus today. We learned a lot of information. We need a little time to pull it together before you guys set up a resolution in 2 weeks or 3 weeks and move forward, or spend any time moving forward, to let us have this meeting and gather more information and send it to you and the town board to look over before you go forward. To have that conversation within the next couple of days with him, say, just hold on, we've got something coming. It was a game changer meeting today.
Well,
So he doesn't move too fast or hastily forward with what he was doing and what they were talking about last night.
I heard basically all the town board members wanting to move to incorporate those 11 people who fell through the cracks into the
Right.
permitting, into the permit system. So I'm not sure that it was just Bill, or that's up to Bill alone to do that or not. I mean, you can certainly say what you said, Urena, to him about what we heard. And I think it's not opening up the cap, is not how it was described. It was more of these 11 people, agree or not, and that was what they were going to be considering.
Right. And I'm not sure that the Granicus activity has an impact on that. I mean, I wasn't in the webinar, but from what I understand of them, that's not something that would affect that they let 11 people have a permit. It's more of the overall enforcement. And they could also, do it provisionally until they redo the law. But that's, there's a whole, there's a zillions of layers of this. So I just wanted to get the action steps down here. Who's doing what first? It sounds like Deborah's going to talk to Granicus and see if she can get the information out of them quicker.
Well,
And
I'm
then
I'm
call
gonna-
this, your group together, and then decide what you want to say to Bill.
Right.
All of it will be before the next meeting, the
Right,
next town board meeting.
right.
And I'm happy to put together a bunch of bullet points as to what I gathered
Great.
from the
That'd be
web,
great.
from the webinar, as well as
Thank you.
thoughts that I have about future STR ordinance.
Wonderful.
Great.
That's
Great.
fantastic. Thank you. And anyone else who wants to do that or add to Howard's
Yeah.
one, I think
Yeah.
that would be a great way of us getting keeping
Yeah.
juices flowing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Howard could send it to Laura, Laura could send it to Urena could send it to Deborah.
I'll send it to everybody, whatever I produce.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody can share your info, and then when you come together to talk, you'll know kind of some of the thinking and have put your weight behind some versus others or whatever. Great.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
you are movers and shakers, and I want to thank you because sometimes we get a little stuck. Thank you.
Know the feeling.
Good, good, good. All right. Somebody want to move this to be closed?
Oh, poor
We do
Catherine.
that much Robert's Rules of Order.
Catherine, turn it
Vote
off.
That we adjourn.
Okay, second? I'll second. All in favor?
I,
Okay. Catherine, you need to shut it off.
Go away, Catherine.
just like crawling around the floor there. What's going on?
There she is.
Poor girl.
Okay, you can get rid of us now. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Feel better.
Yeah, feel better.
Yeah, really. Take care of yourself.
Good night.
Good night.